Based on true events, East Benton, 1934. The evening air was thick with fog as it crept along the Richards Road in East Benton, Maine. That October night in 1934, the Ronco farmhouse stood shrouded in stillness, the quiet broken only by the occasional snap of a twig or rustle of wind-tossed leaves. But inside the house, tension simmered just beneath the surface. Murray Gilbert, 57, sat slouched on the couch in the main room, his frame stooped, his eyes hard and distant. He had been drinking, heavily as he often did when the presence of others on the farm began to gnaw at him. For 5 years, Gilbert had worked the land belonging to Rose Ronco, a widow in her 70s. Over time, he had come to see the farm as his own, growing possessive, territorial, even paranoid. He had come from nowhere and promised everything. Mrs. Ronco, lonely and aging, had found him through a newspaper ad, one of those homestead listings in the back pages, offering help in exchange for room and board. Encouraged by her children, she reached out. Gilbert responded quickly. Not long after, he arrived from Elmira, New York, and never left. But lately, things had changed. Mrs. Ronco's daughter, Lily Emerson Nutt, had arrived from Massachusetts to spend the winter at the farmhouse, and with her came Theodore Jack Butler, a man from Waterville who had known the Roncos for years and had recently begun keeping company with Mrs. Nutt. Gilbert despised them both. They were intruders in a space he had carved out for himself. Worse, he feared they would undermine his standing, perhaps even threaten his claim to the farm, a claim he believed he'd earned with sweat and solitude. On the evening of October 22nd, the three sat down for supper. By all appearances, the conversation was civil. No raised voices, no argument, just the uneasy silence of people who didn't trust one another. After dinner, Butler said he was heading out. Mrs. Nutt rose to walk him to his car, parked just outside. She slipped on a jacket and tam, and the two made for the front door. That's when Gilbert stood up. Without a word, he crossed the room and reached into the corner, retrieving the 12-gauge shotgun he used to hunt rabbits. Still silent, he stepped to the doorway and aimed at Butler's back as he descended the porch steps. The blast echoed down the fog-laced road. Butler collapsed into the dirt. Mrs. Nutt screamed. Gilbert fired again. She stumbled backward, blood soaking through her coat. A final shot tore through her chest. Rose Ronco, stunned and trembling, ran into the night. Fog swirled around her as she stumbled toward her daughter Cora's house, screaming that Gilbert had a gun. Back at the farm, Gilbert stood over Butler's body, paused, then turned back inside. He took his hunting jacket and red cap and disappeared into the woods beyond the fields, gone without a trace. Within minutes, the road was alive with panic. Neighbors arrived first, then deputies. The body of Mrs. Nutt lay twisted at the doorway. Butler still gasped for breath as blood ran from the wounds in his head. He died en route to the hospital. As days passed, rumors multiplied. A letter for Gilbert was found waiting at the Bingham post office. A camp near Lake Parlin was watched for days. Police dogs tracked his scent down logging trails. Planes flew overhead. The county offered a $500 reward, yet every trail went cold. The woods, it seemed, had swallowed Murray Gilbert whole. Some believed he had fled to Canada. Others were certain he had taken his own life that very night. But no body was found. And so the legend of the drunken farmhand who vanished into the wild grew deeper, stranger, harder to unravel. Then, on a grey November morning, 3 weeks to the day after the murders, Ed Walker, a neighbor, took his dog out for a routine hunt near the Ronco place. The dog caught a scent in a clump of alders, no more than 200 yards from the farmhouse. There, concealed beneath weeks of fallen leaves and brush, lay the body of Murray Gilbert. The shotgun lay beside him. His head, partially destroyed by the final shot, bore the same weapon he had used to kill Mrs. Nutt and Butler. The position of the gun told investigators what the thick fog and early confusion had hidden. Gilbert had placed the butt of the gun to the ground, rested the muzzle against his forehead, and pulled the trigger, just as Mrs. Ronco had said he vowed to do before fleeing into the night. The muffled sound of that final shot had been mistaken for silence. All that time, While police chased shadows across counties and followed tips to far-off towns, he had been here, in the very woods behind the house, near the porch where his victims had fallen, near the fields he once tilled, near the woman he'd once pledged to help.